December of 2006, a research vessel called the Alvin, the same submersible that explored the Titanic, hovers at 1,400 meters off the coast of Hawaii. The pilot sees something on the sonar that should not be there. An object, large, stationary, roughly the size of a small car. The Alvin approaches, and the floodlights cut through the black water. It is a shark, a six-gill shark, Hexanchus griseus, over 4 meters long. And it is not moving. It hangs absolutely still in the water column, gills pulsing slowly, eyes tracking. This is not how a shark is supposed to behave. Sharks must move to breathe. They must swim to force water over their gills. Every textbook says so. Every documentary repeats it. But this one is perfectly motionless, at rest, in the crushing dark. And it is not alone. The camera pans, and the pilot counts 17 more, all suspended upright, drifting in the same patch of water. Waiting. The question that footage raised, and that took over a decade to answer, is the same question you are about to understand better than most marine biologists in the world. Why are some sharks breaking the fundamental rule of their own evolution? Most people assume that all sharks are obligate ram ventilators. That is a mouthful. What it means is this: a shark must swim forward with its mouth open so that water flows in through the mouth and out over the gills, extracting oxygen. If it stops swimming, it suffocates. This is the core belief passed down in classrooms, in nature documentaries, in every popular depiction of the great white shark. And it is true for about 1/3 of shark species. But here is what most people get wrong. The other 2/3 have evolved a cheat code. They can pump water over their gills without swimming, a muscle system called Buccal pumping. They can sit still, breathe, and wait. The six-gill shark is one of them. So is the nurse shark. So is the wobbegong. So is the Greenland shark. But here is where the assumption collapses entirely. The six-gill shark is not just resting, it is hunting. And it hunts by staying completely invisible, at the exact same depth, for hours, sometimes days, waiting for something to swim into its range. In the year 2000, researcher Dr. Jennifer Carter dropped a camera rig at 1,800 meters in the Tonga Trench. The camera recorded 96 hours of footage. The first thing it captured was a six-gill shark appearing out of the dark, studying the rig, and then vanishing back into the void. But then the footage showed something else. Something that changed how scientists understood the architecture of deep-sea predation. A vertical grid of waiting predators. That is, the architecture you just glimpsed. If you want to understand how deep-sea sharks actually hunt, not just how they breathe, subscribe to stay with every layer of this system. And in the comments, write the word grid if you already suspected the sharks were positioning themselves, or alone if you thought each one was hunting independently. We are building the full picture from here. At hour 31, a second six-gill shark arrives. It does not approach the camera. Instead, it positions itself at a precise distance, roughly 8 meters above the seafloor, and hangs there, absolutely still. Then a third shark does the same, offset by 15 meters. By hour 60, the camera counted 11 sharks, all suspended at different depths, forming a vertical grid. Around hour 80, something triggers. A school of lanternfish, small bioluminescent baitfish, moves through the area. The sharks do not chase. The sharks do not accelerate. They simply open their mouths wider and let the current bring the prey to them. The forgotten principle here is not just that they can breathe while still, it is that stillness itself is the mechanism. The sharks are not waiting for prey to come to them randomly. They are positioning themselves in the water column at the precise depth where the oxygen minimum layer intersects with the daily migration path of lanternfish. They are sitting at a bus stop, and they know exactly when the bus arrives. But here is the thing. The six-gill shark is one of the oldest shark lineages on Earth. Fossil records place it at 200 million years, surviving the Triassic-Jurassic extinction, the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction, and every ice age after that. It has not changed in its fundamental body plan in at least 70 million years. Biologists used to call sharks like this living fossils. They use that term to mean primitive, ancient, unchanged. But that assumption is wrong. The six-gill shark is not primitive. It is specialized. It has evolved its entire predatory strategy around a single energy efficiency equation. It does not chase because chasing burns oxygen it cannot spare at depth. It waits because waiting costs nearly nothing. Its metabolism is not slow because it is old. Its metabolism is slow because it is optimal. At 1,200 meters, the cost of a single burst acceleration is so high that the shark would need 3 days of digestion to recover. The shark has done the math, and the math says, never move until you are certain. Remember what the depth gauge read: 1,400 meters. The pressure is 140 atmospheres, enough to crush a submarine designed for shallow operations. The temperature is just above freezing, no sunlight, and yet this animal sits there, in the same spot, for 10 hours, during which its heart rate drops to 7 beats per minute, 7 beats in 60 seconds. Its brain activity slows. It enters a state that is not quite sleep, not quite hibernation, but something between, where sensory thresholds are lowered but not disabled. Some researchers now call this state ultra-deep rest. And here is the part that most people miss. The shark is not conserving energy to survive. It is conserving energy to attack. Because when the prey finally comes, when the lanternfish or the squid or even a passing seal carcass drifts into that vertical grid, the six-gill shark must do something that contradicts every expectation about deep-sea predators. It must accelerate from 0 to full speed in under a second. It must generate a burst of power that spikes its oxygen consumption by 500%. And it must do this in an environment where oxygen is already scarce. The question is not how the shark can wait so long. The question is how it can attack so violently after waiting so long. And the data revealed something researchers did not expect. In 2015, a team from the University of Tokyo attached accelerometers and blood sensors to captured six-gill sharks and released them with tracking tags. The tags recorded muscle chemistry, specifically the concentration of lactate and glycogen. The results showed that the six-gill shark stores a unique form of glycogen in its red muscle fibers, a carbohydrate reserve that can be mobilized instantly. It is not a gradual release. It is a dump. The shark can flood its muscles with fuel in milliseconds, achieving maximum contraction before the nervous system even perceives the effort. In other words, the six-gill shark is wired for a single, explosive ambush strike. And then it must rest again. This is why it does not evolve the body plan of a great white. A great white chases. A great white needs a torpedo shape, continuous speed, high cruising efficiency. A six-gill shark does not chase. It waits, then detonates. Its body shape, thick, blunt, heavy, is not a failed version of the great white. It is a different design entirely. It is a deep-sea ambush package that has remained optimal for 200 million years. And the reason it has not evolved into something faster or stronger or more agile is simple. It already has the optimal solution for its specific niche. Evolution is not a ladder toward perfection. Evolution is a bracket competition. The six-gill shark won its bracket so long ago that it never needed to leave. This is the point most ocean documentaries avoid. If you have ever watched a nature documentary and felt like it showed you beautiful footage but never explained the actual mechanics of survival, you know how unsatisfying that feels. They show you the shark floating. They call it mysterious. The truth is less mysterious and more strategic. The six-gill shark did not stop evolving. It became so specialized for one specific depth, one specific temperature, one specific hunting trick, that any change away from that optimization would make it less fit. To evolve into a faster swimmer, it would lose ambush capability. To gain higher burst frequency, it would lose the ability to wait for days. To venture into shallower water, it would compete with speed-adapted predators it cannot outrun. Evolution kept it exactly where it is because moving would mean losing. Wait. Let us look at what the depth gauge actually recorded when the Alvin approached that first group in 2006. The sharks were at 1,400 meters. That depth is the upper edge of the bathypelagic zone. Below 2,000 meters, the six-gill shark is rarely found. Above 800 meters, it is almost never seen. But in that specific band, between 800 and 2,000 meters, it is the dominant predator. The reason is the oxygen minimum zone. At certain depths in the Pacific, oxygen drops to levels that would kill most fish. The six-gill shark has evolved hemoglobin with an unusually high affinity for oxygen. It can extract oxygen from water that would suffocate a great white in minutes. This effectively gives it a territory with no competition. No other large predator can hunt at those oxygen levels. The six-gill shark has found a niche where evolution's pressure to change is zero, because nothing can challenge it there. It is not failing to evolve. It is perfectly frozen in time, because the environment froze around it. In 2019, a team of researchers from the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute used a remotely operated vehicle to deploy a bait rig at 1,900 meters in Monterey Canyon. The ROV filmed an aggregation of well over 56 gill sharks. The largest female measured over 5.5 meters. The team calculated that the aggregation had been in that exact spot for at least 3 weeks. The sharks were not migrating. They were not following a food source. They were simply existing at that depth, waiting, as they have for 200 million years. The researchers called it a nursery area. But it is not a nursery in the sense of breeding. It is a nursery in the sense of stability. A place where environmental conditions are so consistent that the sharks never need to leave. And that stability is itself a form of evolution. It is evolution toward inertia, toward a strategy where the perfect move is to not move. That inertia, evolution frozen, because the niche is already perfect, is the quietest kind of success. If you want to follow the next creature that has found a similar loophole, subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. And drop a comment with the word nursery if you see the parallel between that deep-sea stability and the strategy itself, or ambush, if you still think of the sharks as primitive. You now understand the ocean's hidden rules better than most people who have spent a lifetime near it. Here is what that means for what is still undiscovered. The six-gill shark is not the only deep-sea predator that uses extreme stillness as its primary hunting method. The frilled shark, the goblin shark, the Pacific sleeper shark, all of them sit at different depths, different temperatures, different oxygen levels, and all of them have evolved the same basic principle: do not chase what will come to you. This principle is so widespread in the deep ocean that some marine biologists now propose that the majority of deep-sea predators are ambush specialists, not active hunters. The ocean's popular image, the great white breaching for a seal, the mako chasing a tuna at 50 kilometers per hour, that is surface drama. The real story of the ocean is in the deep stillness, the fixed patience, the 140 atmospheres of pressure, the absolute dark, the heart rate at 7 beats per minute, the wait that has lasted since before the dinosaurs. This is where the story returns to you. The next time you see a shark on screen floating motionless, do not assume it is tired. Do not assume it is primitive. Assume it is doing exactly what its evolutionary history has encoded it to do. Assume it is waiting for the exact moment when moving costs less than staying still. The six-gill shark is not failing to evolve. It is refusing to evolve because its strategy has never failed. And that makes it one of the most successful predators in the history of this planet. Drop your answer below. Did you ever assume a shark that does not move is a shark that cannot move? Or did you already know that stillness is the oldest hunting trick in the book? I want to know what surprised you most. The next chapter goes deeper, to 4,000 meters, where a shark lives that does not even need to breathe like other sharks. A creature so strange that when scientists first filmed it, they refused to publish the footage for 3 years because they thought their equipment was malfunctioning. It was not. The shark was, in a way that changes everything you think you know about metabolism. That is for the next video.